It would be the most sensational and dramatic trial Rochester, New York had ever seen. And our affiliate WHAM is covering it from every angle.
We have team coverage today.
The courtroom is packed, and just about everyone except the prosecution seems to be rooting for popular 20-year-old Ivy Leaguer Charlie Tan, who stands accused of the bloody shooting murder of his wealthy businessman father, Jim.
It's usually the victim, has all the support from family and friends. We had nobody on our side. Everyone was supporting Charlie.
But police and prosecutors are confident they have all the evidence they need to get a conviction.
I really felt that we'd be able to lay out a case we could prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
They have the murder weapon, a 12-gauge shotgun used to blow half of Jim's face off while he sat at his computer in the study of his home. Surveillance video of one of Charlie's friends buying the gun for him just hours before the fatal shooting. A foreboding email Charlie had sent his fraternity brothers at Cornell University, warning them they would soon hear some shocking news they shouldn't believe. And a brief, informal confession Charlie gave to cops at the crime scene. The prosecution even has Charlie's alleged motives.
To protect his mother.
Jean Tan, who was allegedly being abused by her husband and living in fear for her life.
There was definitely a long-standing history of domestic violence in the house.
But Charlie's defense team is betting all that still won't be enough for the prosecution to win the case.
What was Charlie's defense?
Basically, our entire defense was built around, you don't know who shot this person. Nobody knows what's going on in this house.
And Charlie's attorneys hammer away at the evidence the prosecution doesn't have.
They had no eyewitnesses to put Charlie at the scene.
Plus, the only forensic evidence was Charlie's fingerprints on the ammunition in the shotgun.
How do you explain the fingerprints on the casings?
He could have touched them before the fact, after the fact. I mean, he has no fingerprints on the gun. So there's no evidence to suggest he's loading the gun.
And the weapon didn't have a trace of Charlie's DNA on it.
We've got 3 separate DNAs on this, none of which belong to him.
Then there's the prosecution's strongest piece of evidence. A brief statement Charlie made to cops at the crime scene that the prosecution is taking as a confession.
We had the defendant, Charlie Tan, saying, I had to do it, I did it. He was going to kill my mother.
The defense scoffs at it.
You're saying that that's not a confession?
It's not a confession. It's equivocal at best. It could be that he's covering, I had to do it. It's not clear what he had to do.
Crime Watch Daily legal correspondent Amy Dash explains.
It's not the same as him saying, I killed my father. So that's how specific you have to get when you want to present evidence that tries to prove that somebody confessed.
And it was never clarified.
No one asked a follow-up question.
Charlie had immediately retained an attorney and never said another word to investigators after that.
There was no interrogation
That
of
was
him
the
at the
only
police
statement
department.
he made.
That's it.
The defense cast suspicion upon Charlie's mother, Jean, who had also lawyered up and never spoken to police.
His mother, frankly, has a much greater motive, a much greater incentive, and much greater hatred in which to fuel this type of a violent act.
She's already dead. She's already dead.
Who's already dead?
And they suggest Jean's 911 call to police was faked, made on a Monday, 4 days after they say her husband was murdered.
We know she didn't see something happen on Monday night. It's impossible.
The defense tells the jury Charlie could have been taking the murder rap for his mom.
I'm asking you to take a look at Jean Tan, not because I'm telling you or suggesting to you that she killed Jim Tan, but you have to agree with me that there's far more evidence to suggest she did it than Charlie did it. If you agree with that statement, you have to find him not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
The jury would deliberate for 5 days without being able to reach a unanimous verdict. And Judge James Piapino declares a mistrial.
And we would start this case over again.
But when the prosecution and defense return to court expecting to discuss a date for a new trial, Judge Piapino makes a jaw-dropping announcement.
The case is dismissed.
The judge declaring to everybody's surprise that there's not enough evidence against Charlie to justify a new trial.
It was unfathomable because nobody saw that coming.
Charlie Tan and his defense team are ecstatic, while the prosecution is left in stunned disbelief.
It was a shock. It wasn't what we were expecting.
Even the defense concedes such a ruling by a judge has little precedent.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
I don't think so.
This is rare.
Yeah, it is rare.
And District Attorney Sandra Dorley cries foul.
There was clearly, in my opinion, under the law, legally sufficient evidence to allow that case to go to a jury for a decision.
This is an egregious error.
People feel that the judge essentially took the decision away from the jury. But what people don't realize is this is something that the law allows the judge to do.
But when a furious assistant district attorney and lead prosecutor Bill Gargan objects, Judge Piapano threatens to have him arrested and handcuffed right there in the court.
This is the only time in my career I've ever been threatened with jail by a judge. But had he sought to put me in jail, I would have gladly gone to ensure that our voices were heard in relation to that absurd decision.
Ironically, though, a smiling Charlie Tan walks out of the court an exonerated free man and straight into the cameras of our affiliate, WHAM.
Back up. Please. Calm down. Let's go over here.
Was Charlie very surprised?
I think he was surprised by everything that happened.
The Charlie Tan story does not end here with all charges against him dropped. At this point, prosecutors are appealing the judge's decision.
We argued in front of our appellate division last week.
But DA Dorley admits the chances of getting a new trial are beyond slim.
This is an uphill battle.
It is an uphill battle.
And if the prosecution loses, as expected, the case will indeed be over.
Judge Papiano was right in what he did, that they can't appeal it, that there's nothing they can do.
He felt their case was so weak that it didn't even support bringing the murder charge. And the reason is they had a lot of these circumstantial pieces of evidence, but with each one you had to make a logical leap in order to connect him to the crime.
So the murder of Jim Tan remains as much of a whodunit now as it was in the beginning.
Do you believe Charlie Tan was in fact the person who pulled the trigger that night?
Yes.
But DA Dorley is not quite so sure.
Do you believe Charlie's mother had any part in this?
At this point, I don't believe that she did. I look at the firepower of the rifle that was used to murder Jim Tan. Jean Tan was a very small woman. I don't think she had the capability to fire that shotgun.
Was there a point in this case where you wanted to charge Jean Tan with conspiracy?
We looked into it, but we felt our strongest case was charging Charlie Tan with intentional murder as principal and/or accomplice, which means that Jean may have had some doing in the preparation or the planning or responsible for the killing of Jim Tan.
And even Bill Gargan admits he could be proven wrong about Charlie's guilt.
Do you believe Jean Tan will ever be charged with anything?
I can tell you that there is no such thing as a closed murder investigation. You will always be on the lookout for evidence in any case that has not been solved.
Now we want to hear from you. After hearing the evidence, who do you think killed Jim Tan, Charlie or his mother? Sound off right now on our Facebook page, and for the latest on this case, you can go to our website or our affiliate's website, that's 13wham.com.